Hey everyone, welcome to the new episode of Between Ventures. In this episode, we have joined by Asmith, who is a founder and a student founder to be specific, who have been working into multiple companies and multiple ideas from so long now. He is working on a conversational AI that is based on characteristics and emotional intelligence. Hey Asmith, happy to have you on this podcast series. So, this podcast series is aiming to make new founders aware, and we have the agenda to tell founder story, founders who are working on their startup and failed in their previous ventures and trying to build something new, trying to build something the learners they learned in previous ventures, especially founders who failed at least once in their time span in their ventures, or maybe their startup got shut down with external crisis or whatever you can say, because it is a known fact that 1 out of 10 startup usually fail within 5 years. So
Yeah.
it's a saying that many mentors even note every time they used to give their keynote speak, keynote to the public. So, if I talk about your particular ventures, so you have worked on two startups before, and this is your third company,
Yeah.
Yuti AI.
Yeah.
So, can you just give a brief about your journey, how you started, and what brings you to build something in emotional intelligence space, like building the emotional internet for India?
Okay. Well, to start off, I started off as an intern in TGSE. It's basically called Telangana Government Innovation Cell, where the government handles, it gives support to innovators, not startups specifically, innovators, at the grassroots level, mainly in tier two, tier three, even tier four villages or towns. And there, I used to be a business development associate. I used to help with the graphic design. I used to help with recording podcasts or interviews. I used to do general ops. That's where my first entrepreneurial spirit started, because I saw all of the impact people were doing there. There were quite a few people there who were working on different things. Uh, those things which I still can't remember now. But one thing I would remember is one person called Hamish. He won an award from the Prime Minister President of India, and he got supported from TGIC when I was working there as an intern. So when I saw people doing things like that, creating so much impact in the world, that's where I thought, why can't I just create why can't I start a venture that can create an impact in the world? So well, that's where I started. So that's where my creation led to of TBN, Teen Biz Networks. Teen Biz Networks is basically a place where teenagers, anyone between the age of 15 to 24, can come, pitch their startup, just find a community, a community of self-belonging, where they could share their thoughts, not another WhatsApp community that everyone has, but a place where people can actually come, sit down, talk ideas, maybe, constructively criticize their startup ideas. Maybe if anyone gets lucky, maybe get funded. So that's where I started it. I started somewhere in 23, 24, between that time span. And that venture, it went pretty good for a few months till 24 April. But the reason why it failed was we understood that there was a need for teenage entrepreneurship, but there wasn't that big of a spark. Everyone had their own college incubator cell or their own e-cells where they can reach out to. So that's one thing I can say where I failed. But my lessons or learnings from that particular startup would be, there is a huge sense of community in India. If you have a sense of your people, the whole India is community driven, whether it be caste, religion, whether it be income, anything that a community can be built upon. So that's one thing I understood, that India is a pure community driven country. So that's the reason I started another venture. I was a part of something called as Master Grade, where I was a director of operations. So I hosted a few events there. I wanted to create an impact in the sports world where we can help NGOs, any NGO, and that to mainly student-led NGOs. So most of my work in the last 2 years was towards student-led initiatives. So we hosted an event there called a cricket carnival. Basically, a place where students, any student-led NGO, whether it be a registered one or not registered one, can come put up a stall. We'll give them a cricket team, so it can be like an IPL for student-led NGOs. So that is one impact-driven thing that I did, and that's one of my other ventures. I can say successful or failed. So, well, right now, I'm currently building Yudi AI. My reason for this, for me, for creating Yudi, is actually with the carnival itself. So, post carnival, there was a situation where the event did not go good. We had good numbers and good marketing, good PR, but financially, the event did not go good. So that led me to being honest. That led me to being in a situation where I had no one who could reach out. My partners who were at that time, not to name them, weren't supporting me in the way I needed them, and they weren't ready to take on the financial burden. So we did not have any legal agreement in writing saying that this is what happened and this is what we'll share. So I was 17 that time, and that led me to having a mental. To give you an example, that particular day, like exactly after the next day of the event, my parents did not know that this was that big of a loss. The next day of the event, I was on my bed. I started crying and crying. My body went into a place where it got something like Fritz, not Fritz, but it got shocked. I couldn't move my hands. I was crying and I fell on the ground. So that time, in that situation, I had no one who could understand me, and that did not become a regular pattern in life. But at that particular situation, when I was feeling so bad and feeling so depressed, when I looked at my phone list, I had 2,000 contacts. I could not call anyone who would understand me. My mom was beside me trying to console me. My dad was trying to console me. My mom was talking with the people who were talking with my partner, saying that Asmith is in this situation, please help him. So my situation was in such a bad position. I did not have emotional maturity, or I did not understand who to talk with. And that became a pattern or some kind of thing in life where, after that thing happened somewhere around July of 24. And after that's when I created Yudi before college started. Exactly like 1 month before our academic year started. And I was like, Yudi, why can't we just make it a place where, we can find other people who will understand us? If I have a problem and there's someone else who has the same problem, we both can connect and talk about it. I did not know that therapy was an option, and I wasn't aware much about the different options that were there. So that is the story behind Yudi. My failure of that event and leading me to not having anyone in that situation to reach out made me create Yudi and not and make what it is today. So yeah, that was my journey, I can say.
Understood. So it's something like your first startup failed, which was community driven, and then second startup was backed by the first one because it was community driven.
Yeah,
And your third startup is backed by the second failed startup that was a main trigger point for your emotional breakout.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
yeah, so if I talk about your particular third venture, this venture that is into emotional internet for India, you totally understood that India is community based and India is working with close groups,
yeah,
societies, and people, like minded people. And when they are emotionally vulnerable, when they are looking for help, they don't used to ask in their own communities.
you're right.
So this is one reality check as well that I also got when I started Hug, the mental wellness company. It's totally into well-being industry, and we also go towards emotional intelligence, but through a different path that is proper therapy, retreats, corporate wellness programs, and different things as well. That are psychology led. So your particular um, product, that is your the AI, is product centric and people can connect with AI to talk to um, emotional intelligent AI
Yeah,
and express their feeling, right? Looking towards your particular journey, I am also inspired a bit with the steps that you took yourself for your particular own self to find a proper problem and also find a solution to it. It usually comes through frustration to not get a proper solution of a problem that we are also facing. And
Yeah,
we end up creating the solution that we required, and now we know that, hey, other people
uh,
also required something similar.
exactly.
Right. So, if I circle back to your journey when you were vulnerable, when you were very emotionally vulnerable, and you thought of taking help, and you talked to even your family and your friends, and you found out that it's better to create an emotional intelligence AI. So, how you decided and how you took step to build a product out of it, and what was the main, you can say, action led or triggering point. So there are two triggering points basically in every founder's life. One is triggering of the problem, that is, hey, this is the problem and this is
Yeah.
irritating me, I need to find a proper solution to it, I need to get help, or maybe I just need to figure it out. So that is the one triggering point. And the second triggering point is building something out of it, maybe a
Yeah.
product or service.
So my first triggering point, as you know, is that breakdown that I had of me falling down on from the bed. Over that, it took me roughly, I can say, 8 to 9 months to have the emotional AI triggering point. In between that, I had like three different products that I was working on, three different solutions. There's this thing by Y Combinator saying that the founder should be problem obsessed, not solution obsessed. So that saying was something I understood later. But when the first solution of Yudi was basically a place where you can find where you can find people with similar interests, something like Bumble for friends. So I thought maybe similar interests could lead to some where I can find someone who has a similar interest. Then that could maybe help me vent out my feelings. So that was the initial point. I did some tests in my college. I had like some 300, 400 people who used it also. And in the end, one incident that made me pivot again was that my another triggering point, the main pivot triggering point was I was in the basement with my senior, and he was one of our other seniors came down and he was like, "Bro, you are building the dating platform, right?" So, and when as soon as the dating platform thing came to my mind, it gave me a realization. If people want connect with similar interests, it's a dating platform. It's not a place where people want to share their emotions. And that's what led to me, where I understood. That's when I suddenly started using ChatGPT. Sometime around June or July of 2025, where I started using AI as a therapy. It started made me feel better, but I still felt left out because I did not understand what I was trying to talk. It couldn't understand my emotion. I started using ChatGPT for my wellness personally, and I understood ChatGPT won't check up on me. It won't send me a message ask me how are you, or it wouldn't understand my main problem. Be like, if in Hindi I tell, "अरे भाई मेरे बंदी ने मुझे छोड़ दिया," ChatGPT wouldn't understand that. It'll be like, "Okay, bro, that's fine. Now breathe in, breathe out. I don't want to breathe in and breathe out when my girlfriend left me. I want a guy who can listen to me, who can talk me like, अरे मचे light लेना भाई, बहुत सारे लड़की है." Things like that. So that was my second action point.
So, if you're building over the AI platform that is
Hmm.
emotionally driven and had, um, like you had some past experiences that led you to build something in AI plus emotional intelligence. What do you think, like, about therapy? So, I am a firm believer that human connections will be prioritized more and more in terms of AI. But I still believe that emotional intelligence, AI, have a lot of scope in the market and humans' life as well. It's simply because when anybody is facing emotional breakdown, therapist is not available all the day. For example, at 3 a.m., if somebody feels taking therapy, they can't book a therapy session.
Exactly.
They can still go towards emotional intelligence backed AI and
Yeah.
can hold themselves up and can feel a bit lighter. But course, we need to keep a lot of layering towards AI then, that whenever things are getting out of hand, so maybe things are not going right, AI should also recommend therapy. AI should
Yeah.
also recommend therapy every time. For example, if emotional intelligence backed AI is having a conversation with a person who is emotionally vulnerable at 4 a.m., they should console it. They should handle the situation really well.
Hmm.
But it should also redirect towards booking therapy for next day, maybe at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. If therapist is available, you can book a session prior to closing the chat. So, what do you think about it? Will AI-driven communications will back therapy more, or it will punch therapy more? So,
Neither actually.
okay.
I'll be honest. It won't punch therapy because AI is not that advanced where it can come and punch therapy, and that, I think that will only happen once you have AGI, which we don't know when it is coming. And when it comes to backing therapy, one thing I would say is right now at our UD in the company, not I'm not trying to promote my company, but at the company, as we understood that one thing in India, therapy is for like the top 5% or 10% of India. And when it comes to India 2 or 3, that's where most of the problems are. That's where most of the that's where most of the things are. And a therapist is a human and he needs to live. Right. So one thing I understood is if AI would be a therapist, AI can't be a therapist. That is for sure. I'm personally watching for it. AI can't be a therapist. It can be the first layer of defense, but it can't be the fortress. It can be a wall, but not the fortress. Therapy is the fortress. AI wouldn't be something that would replace therapists, but it would be something that can be immediately available. So it would not exactly back therapy or punch therapy in the face. It would be an alternative or the first line of defense. Because a few times therapy might not be needed in the situation.
Right now, many people can think that hey, therapy is for 5%, 8%, but sooner it will be gone, I think so, as a myth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is for everybody. So you talked about therapy above layer. Therapy above layer can be protected by AI, and AI can usually act as a layer where
Yeah.
if therapist is not available, people can talk to it. If you really go towards the AI thing, AI will, you can say, accelerate the process
Hmm.
for therapy sessions.
It
So
can.
right now, AI is acting as AI assistant. When like AI assistant like GPT, Gemini, and Grok will have more emotional intelligence and maturity with their AI models, they can refer clients to take therapy sessions
Yeah.
as well. So I would love to hear from you that what do you think about how next 2 3 years will look like, because we are not going to talk about 5 year plan or 10 years plan, but with the speed of AI development, I would still be very skeptical about things will change every 6 months.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So one thing I would like to say is India is becoming a more privacy and data oriented country. So right now our generation and the millennials, everyone from post millennials are going more towards data privacy. And the thing with LLMs is they are not secure. And these are statements made by Sam Altman that please don't use ChatGPT for therapy. I go and pitch UD in front of people. The first question is, how are you different from ChatGPT? Right? And when you mentioned that the LLMs, the current model like Grok, Gemini, Perplexity, the different companions, these things that I noticed, one thing was how much of time they take. The AI market that becoming more emotional is those things are more focused towards the enterprise side. All the LLMs that are catering, they're more catered towards the enterprise side. They're not catering towards much to the consumer. Even if they are, that's not a big portion. Because you can see Gemini 3.0, the market share increased from 6% to 18 or 20% in the last few months. So if I want to look at the AI market in the next 3 4 months, let's say the next 3 months, there might be a new feature that might come out because if I'm not wrong, Elon Musk XAI is trying to make Grok into an AI companion. And I think everyone knows about it because that changed the whole market. It gave a recognition to the AI companion market. Well, internationally, there are too many AI startups like Character AI, Replica, who are already being using it. But one thing I noticed in India, if AI companies has to succeed, it's going to be a very difficult thing. We're overpopulated. There's everyone for everything. I have every single person. If I go to a consumer or my user and I ask them this question, would you use AI for venting out? Their answer would be no. But the only thing that gave me confidence was when I gave them a product, they felt happy about it, because the amount of energy that goes into talking with 10 different people and telling them 10 different situations, a person would forget a lot of things in that transition. Like I can tell my sister about maybe my exams, and I can go and tell my girlfriend about, let's say, some career, maybe some health issue. So one person is for one situation. So AI is trying to be a generalist. And one thing you mentioned, AI assistants, ChatGPT, LLMs, and all of them are AI assistants. They're not AI companions. And in India, the AI companion market is gonna boom soon. I hear it everywhere saying it's gonna be saturated. But to be honest, it still did not start. If it did start, I think I would have had an AI companion in my phone rather than Yudi. Because the AI companion market still did not start. I think it hit $1 billion last year. So, and one more thing, if you want me to say, if the AI companies get emotional intelligence, I think that isn't going to be something that would be happening in the coming 6 or 7 months. Might take a year or might take 2 years. And by then, if the current startups in India, whatever the AI startup is, there's a saying by the IT Minister of India saying that India is the application capital of AI. It is not the LLM capital. Here we don't build foundation models, but we have a huge consumer user base that are willing to use products. So if we can build AI companions within that particular time frame, like 6 to 7 months, and we make the user stick on it that long enough, the opportunity cost of a user shifting from our platform to another AI platform is very high. That is the only reason ChatGPT has been able to hold such a long market share for the last 3-4 years post-launch. But now Google's promotions and Google's fee, the thing with the AI market is we don't know how is it going to be when. It might change in the next 1 week only. And there's a new discovery there's a startup from Y Combinator where they're actually making AI models that can run locally on your phones.
Right.
And if that thing becomes a huge market in India, where we have nearly 700 or 800 million phones, startups like ChatGPT lose a huge market share. And there's this whole new trend of AI wearables coming into India. I'm being honest, if a person has to make an AI wearable that to work in India with the network issues that we have, even though we have Geo and the cost, we already have our phone. My phone is currently worth 30,000 rupees. And that is roughly 1 or 2 months of income for an average Indian. And if they want to create a separate device for just talking with AI wearables isn't a market that would succeed in India for the next 1 or 2 years. It might succeed after 2 or 3 years once we have a good market share and the GDP increases or the income increases of the person. So I can say in the well-being space, there is quite some time, but if you execute fast, it will take some time for the big research labs to come and start a big thing in India. So,
Understood. I totally believe that AI companions would hold a space in people's life soon. That is for sure. And
but
what
it
I
will take
also
some
believe
time.
that, yeah, it will take some time. What I personally believe is right now, many people are talking with GPT a lot
A
and
lot.
sharing their personal problems, sharing their medical history, sharing their college life, student life, even professional, chaotic things, and a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
Taking that further, AI Companion will of course have its own space, but as you also stated that it can get saturated. But it hasn't even been started now, so
Uh,
you can be the first mover, right?
I would disagree with that. I've done research. Me, myself, in WhatsApp groups, I've seen at least 40 different AI startup companies in the last 6 months that came. And one common thing among everyone was they're building friends, AI friends. That's it. None of them are focusing on a particular use case. But in India, the biggest problem that I identified was us expressing our emotions, the way we talk. the tone, the pitch, the voice. India is a voice first company, right? And the India's literacy rates are increasing like huge. But one thing is, in India, people know how to talk. They don't know how to write. Write in the sense how to express properly. Spelling mistakes. I also, when I'm typing emails, I still do spelling mistakes. That's the reason I use tools like Whisperflow. So in India, where it's a voice first company, voice first market, in India, if you want to build a successful AI companion, the AI should be so emotionally intelligent that okay, I'll give an example right now. I'll talk in Hindi and I'll be like, "Arey bhai, mere bandi ne chhod diya." This is my low pitch, and I'll be, "Arey bro, I got a job." You can see the pitch difference in my voice, and ChatGPT can't identify that pitch, but I can't identify the tone or the context. That particular slang, the way the people talk in India, that is the biggest advantage that any startup can have. We are trying to crack that. If any startup before us can crack that, I think they would have one of the world's best voice models. Not only a companion, but one of the world's best voice models. So in India, if you can break that speech recognition thing, that can be a very big advantage.
Understood. Pretty sorted, I think. So pretty good future ahead in terms of AI and India. So, what are your next plan? Like how you are going to flow to the market, how you are going to keep people aware that where the line should be there. Here you can go to therapy.
Yeah.
Here you can talk to us. And what's your next coming months plan?
When it comes to our next few months, I can say, being honest, in the next 3-4 months, we don't know where AI is going to be because of, last year in 25, in January, DeepSeek released. And after DeepSeek's release, the whole market just went upside down. The AI training model costs cut down by a huge percent. So when it comes to our current plan, right now, we have like maybe 300, 400 people using UD daily. So we are trying to get into more people. We're doubling down on the culture and language part. We're trying to make, I can't say India's first voice companion, but something that can understand the culture and slang of an Indian. I've noticed that there are a lot of AI startups that are focusing on the B2B customer calling side of Indian voice, where they are trying to make AI talk like an Indian girl or an Indian customer service agent. And that is a very big industry that I know. I know a lot of startups personally who are like doing the same thing, AI lead generation or AI voice agents, and they're making 20 to 30 lakh rupees a month. Okay. But in India, one thing I noticed is if you look at the biggest startup that is there in India, Zerodha, Zepto, all of the unicorns, all of them are consumer startups. The biggest enterprise startup that I would know would be Zoho. So in India, I think India is a place where consumer startups would thrive, not business startups. There would be a situation where business startups would have more spending, but that would take some time, or it might not be that publicly available. So when it comes to consumer spending, or where we are trying to portray ourselves, we are trying to double down on the proactiveness. One more thing that we are trying to introduce into India, or the way we are different from other ChatGPT or other competitors, is our AI checks up on you. Every day, let's say I have a friend and she sends me good morning every day, just as ritual. And ChatGPT doesn't do that. I don't see a therapist sending me good morning every day. There are not so many, no AI companions proactive. That's a big market niche I focus, because in India, people like to be seen. They have an obsession with being seen, that showing off culture. Now the generation is going more minimalistic, but still, that's the reason people flaunt on Instagram. This might be a very controversial thing I'm saying, but everyone wants to be seen in India. So if we build an AI that can let them be seen, that is something I think we can actually help. Because, I'm being honest, we're not trying to replace therapists. We're trying to build a fallback where you can share your emotions on a daily basis freely without being judged.
Understood. So I will keep it in very simple words. You are trying to build emotional, intelligent companion AI, and these particular emotional companion AI, regardless of wherever the humans are using it,
Yeah.
it will be the imposter in the society or in the close group
Yeah.
that people around you will not know about it, but you personally know that this is something that I'm talking to daily.
Yeah.
And then there is somebody out of your circle that is professionally advanced, that you go to them nearly every week to take therapy. So therapists will be out of your circle
Yeah.
that will be professionally helping you,
Yeah.
and your particular AI will be acting as an imposter
Yeah.
in a particular
Circle.
group of people, right?
Right.
So it's the simplest way I can also put it into.
Mm.
So, looking into the AI market and the advancement, you also stated that consumer-driven AI companies can also lead, because India is driven by consumerism, consumer market. Because India
Yeah.
have the leverage that we can play around is population,
Exactly.
and as well as we can also drive towards running the high quality audience, and making the mid level audience as a high quality audience as well by educating them.
Yeah.
So this is also the AI can do. Emotional intelligence driven AI can also help people to get more emotional intelligent.
Exactly.
So, just give me a short brief that how did you acquire your first consumer?
Okay. Our first consumer was actually a friend of mine. We were testing it internally, and one of my friends in a group chat, he had a breakdown. He had an emotional breakdown, and he was venting out to me. I normally act as a person like where anyone can share the feelings. Always try to be accessible. You call me, I'll listen. Whatever, whether one and a half conversation or something. In that situation, once he was starting to feel a little better, I told him, "अरे भाई use कर लेना, मैं ये develop कर रहा हूँ." And that's when he started using it. And then I don't even know where he is right now. I'm being honest. He's using maybe UD at least 5 to 10 minutes a day. He's one of our loyal users actually. So, and he has been with us for the last 1 year. In the number of pivots that we had and whatever companions we built. So that can be one thing. But when it comes to general consumer AI startups, for them to get into market, I think the best thing would be them directly just going onto the road, like literally going onto the road. If you see, if let's say you're building a B2C startup or a consumer startup that helps software employees, like let's say a software wellness startup, you can just go into an IT park, any office that you know, just stand outside, hold banners, or just wear a t-shirt and just go and talk with people. You just need to be shameless. Maybe just wear a t-shirt with a QR behind you, because that's a lot of things. In Instagram, we see all of these reels where people have QRs behind the t-shirts, or they wear and roam around. That can be a big virality factor, right? So that if you're building a consumer startup, that can be a very good thing for you. Because right now in India, everyone is going towards D2C or B2B. There's no B2C, and that's a pretty niche market. But trust me, there are big VC firms in US, like A16Z, Y Combinator, Elevation Capital. All of these big VC firms are trying to get into consumer, and they're saying 2026 is a year of consumer AI to be specific. So if you're building a consumer startup, this is the right year to build it. That's what would my suggestion be. And
Right, because right now I think so. This is the best time to build D2C brand, regardless of you are in any type of industry. Is because access to the market is very wide right now.
exactly.
Regardless of whatever the product you are thinking of. So building in D2C is really amazing. Right now, it's fascinating, and people can, of course, start. We can also see multiple failures coming in, but no way that India will not see growth. India will be witnessing growth in D2C segment soon, and it's already witnessing. We can see companies like Boat. We
Yeah.
can we can see IPOs, yeah. We can see
Yeah.
IPOs, a lot of companies coming in. We saw Zomato's IPO, we saw
Yeah.
Swiggy IPO, we saw Delivery IPO. We saw a lot of good companies IPO. We are going to see Oyo's IPO. We saw Lenskart IPO. 10 years back, even I think so, nobody saw that any Indian brand would lead or kind of lead a sustainable market share in glasses segment, in wearable segment.
Exactly.
But right now we saw board. Right now we are witnessing Lenskart
That's
growth.
correct.
But D2C have its own charm and growth in India for sure. Moving further, if you talk about AI and if you talk about consumerism, consumer-led companies, what do you think AI plus consumerism will take us further? And how founders should look into it?
My suggestion would be AI can be, as I mentioned previously, India's application capital of AI. We can't, being honest, India doesn't have the capital to build LLMs. We don't have the cash inflow because to train, if I'm not on ChatGPT for a 1 month, it should cost 300 to 400 million dollars. This is a comment I saw in a recent reel I was watching. So it takes hundreds of millions of dollars just to train a foundational model.
India have capital, but India don't have that much resources, I would say. Resources in the sense we don't get access to the high quality chipsets. We don't get high quality GPUs. We don't get data centers, even land to just keep data centers vacant. Don't have that much advanced
Resources.
labor plus ecosystem. We don't have
True.
ecosystem developed, right? So even government allow that much capital and infuse that much capital, it is very hard for us to build LLM. India
Build
will
it.
of course build its own LLM. It will be 5, 6 years down the line, but right
Yes.
now, I think so. The
Applications.
cost plus ecosystem, the cost plus application is the cost plus ecosystem isn't aligned. Application is
Yeah.
still there. Application market is huge in India.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the reason I think if a founder should build a AI startup in the consumer industry, first thing is I think the best way for you to market is WhatsApp groups. The network effect that WhatsApp has in India, you just share a link. If people find it resourceful, that link will travel to 10 different groups, which might give you access to another 20,000 people you don't even know existed. And so, if it's a problem that you face on a daily basis, you see 100 other people within you who are facing it on a daily basis, and you think that's solvable by AI, and it's not costly because AI costs are huge, right?
Agree.
And one thing I note in India, exactly. One thing I noticed is if I want in India, subscriptions won't work. Subscription model will take a huge time to come to the standards of international. So one business model that I had recently discovered while doing some research for UD, I'll tell you one thing, UD is completely free for everyone. It's a statement I'm making publicly, it's free for everyone. However the duration be, our revenue model is pretty simple. In India, because of us having the emotional, having us, because of us having so much capital in India to spend on products we use, like quick commerce. Let's take Zomato or Swiggy or Zepto. In Swiggy, I've done a few surveys with few of my friends, and they spend roughly 2,000 rupees to 7,000 rupees per week just on these platforms. And from the research that I've done, these companies give out discounts. Like BookMyShow gives a 25% discount for a booking. So companies like this quick commerce companies and all these companies that are mainly B2C focused, I've noticed that they're giving discounts. So if you can try to get in touch with those companies or maybe find a way to convince those companies to give you a commission on a transaction that happens within their platform. Let's say you're making one consumer idea could be a movie recommendation. In India, a movie recommendation companion or a movie recommendation AI, where you just talk with AI, it'll recommend you movies. That's it. That can be a pretty good AI startup because people in India, movies is a very big market. Everyone knows that. We are driven by
Right,
movies.
right.
So that can be a good market. And if you can talk, maybe you can have some kind of deal with BookMyShow where you take a commission for recommending the movie. So that's our revenue model right now in UD. We're trying to Zomato released their MCP recently, a few months back. So we're trying to get big companies, whatever the companies be, or small B2B brands, whoever it be, come and showcase their products on our AI platform. So we'll take a commission on the referral, 10% or
So
20%
it's
commission.
so it's known as affiliate.
Yep, exactly. Affiliate, but AI affiliation to be specific. So
Right.
But this is a discovery that I had recently, because in India, people are willing to spend money, but not on the product. They're willing to be sold to. You can sell them something. You can.
Yes, yes. I really love this conversation. So, Ashmit, any last word for me, for my team, for conversation driven people or people who are hearing this out?
In the end, I said what I ought to say. Ishank, thank you for having me on. It really means a lot for a student entrepreneur like me coming onto a podcast.
Sure, man. Thanks a lot for being here.